in all of these sheriff versus judge executive cases, I'm really disappointed in every other public official that's around. In Jackson County, once they arrested judge executive, you had the county clerk that was kind of like, what the fuck? Donald Duck, right? He makes a fucking joke. We can't fucking succeed now, waka waka. And he couldn't run the fucking meeting, so the judge leaves and you can't run the meeting. None of the county's business gets discussed and nobody does anything. So it's unfortunate. It's a little ridiculous because magistrates, there's three branches of government. There's the legislature, there's the executive, and the judicial, and there's supposed to be three equal co-sharing branches of government, and so they need to be working, sort of in tandem. Not their independent in their own capacity, but the whole, the whole frame, the whole thing is kind of needed. So you almost need sort of a coordinator, a county coordinator, to make sure all fucking government is working, between each other. Or should be an ombudsman or something, just a fucking commissioner on efficiency. And yeah, so the judge executive in Harlan County had got arrested by the sheriff, and that also happened in Jackson County. And so I'm reading this article because it was actually, I just closed out of the long-ass article. This was a short one. There's a longer one that actually went into details about the whole thing, because it's like a political feud. The judge executive and the sheriff in Jackson County have been butting heads big fucking time. That what they did was pretty fucking cold-blooded. Cut out all of his budget, cut his staff out, just give him fucking the title of sheriff, which he won by election, and let him sit in his car and in his house. So he wouldn't get paid by the county whatsoever. I don't even know how he's collecting any money. He goes around and has to get all the fucking property taxes from everybody, and then once they fucking make the sheriff get all the property taxes, then they kind of treat him like an asshole, like, thanks for the fucking money, now get the fuck out of our face. Well, hold on, I'm the fucking sheriff, so you can't just, kind of push me off to the side. I'm going around here getting all the fucking money for everybody. This is the county's money. We could spend this fucking money on some really good-ass projects. You need to be able to fucking, the sheriff has all the fucking marbles, okay? And ultimately, I think it all falls down on the sheriff anyways. He's sort of in between the executive and judicial. He's what binds the judicial and the executive together. Because the executive says, here are the laws that need to be enforced. The legislature passes those laws, and then the fucking enforcement enforces those laws. And so the legislature could be writing laws saying, hey, no corruption, hey, don't fucking steal from us, here's a new fucking position, let's change this, let's do that, and just really be active in their legislative efforts, or writing the laws. That's the power of a legislature, is to be able to fucking write laws. And if you can write new laws, no fucking selling beer on Sundays, or legalizing marijuana, or legalizing gay marriage, or paying sheriffs in Bitcoin. Legislators can do shit like that. They can fucking write and change the laws, right? They can pass a fucking ordinance to honor some great person, so that they, February be known as fucking, I was going to say James Meade, but for Meade County, but he was a bastard. So Albert Gallatin Day, or Mr. Harlan Day, or not Jackson. Andrew Jackson's a fucking genocide and maniac too, just like Meade. But anyways, Harlan County Judge Executive arrested in his office. The Harlan County Judge Executive Joe Greashop was arrested in his office Tuesday following a 2-year investigation. According to Harlan County Sheriff Marvin J. Lipford, Sheriff Lipford said when he arrived in Greashop's office with an arrest warrant, Greashop locked himself in and called 911. Yeah, I forgot that part. So Joe Greashop jumps into his office and he's like, 911, and then eventually the 911 says, well, we can't help you. It's the fucking sheriff. You got the sheriff there, 911. Who's the 911 going to go to, Maybe he could have got Kentucky State Police or feds or somebody to protect him, but he's the judge executive, right? That's the fucking president. That's the fucking governor. Nixon said if the president does it, it's not illegal. So he's the fucking face. He's the symbol for the county. Not only should he be saying you do this and you do that, but his reputation and his image should really be fucking protected. So he was able to get him arrested. He locked himself in. He was able to get, I think, a fucking indictment. And he got an indictment from a local trial commissioner. So, I mean, magistrates are sometimes called commissioners. I don't know if magistrates are allowed to issue warrants and shit. I think actually reflecting on some of these positions and job titles and what they what their requirements are is a good idea, because the more you look at it and the more you reflect on it, the more they're very narrowly defined. So the county clerk deals with the elections, the circuit court deals with you know, whatever, I guess bail bonds or whatever. So each one of the offices has their specific duties which they need to be able to carry out. And so the more that the general population, that I am and anybody else and citizens, understand the duties of those elected officials, then you can come to expect, you know, certain services and certain ways for them to interact with you. And especially the judge executive and the sheriff, these people are like the fucking face of the county. So when you have the sheriff and the judge executive and then the county attorney, I don't even know, he wasn't even around here when this all went down. So actually he got the county attorney's permission in Jackson County, whereas in Harlan County, you know, they're just both vigilantes, and so it's just a fucking pissing contest. And it's a feud, it's a political feud, right? So yeah, he took the fucking things out of the building, but it was a political thing, you know. It was kind of like, no, I wanted this used for this thing, but they had voted it in, so he's actually in the right. Harlan County Judge Executive did fucking break the law because the magistrates voted it in, so they're the fucking legislators. They're the one that made the law. The executive didn't fucking execute the law, so he didn't do his job. And so that's, you know, that's a change you run into too. Legislator could pass 50 fucking laws, but the executive is like, yeah, fuck your laws. Well, you know, you overrun them. He's got a veto, but once you get 3/5 majority or so, he's overrun, or especially unanimous. He's got no voice. So Sheriff Lipford said Greashop was charged with third-degree burglary, theft by unlawful taking of property valued over $10,000, official misconduct, and 10 counts of retaliating against a participant in a legal process. So that's Marvin Lipford, right, asking questions, and it's like, hey, don't retaliate against me just because I'm asking questions. And it's like, motherfucker, you're asking questions. Well, you mean not get mad about it? Sheriff said Greashop is accused of cutting the locks of building and stealing items from a non-profit group called the Harlan County Sheriff's Chaplain Corp. Sheriff Lipford said other people are expected to be charged in the case. The case against Judge Executive will be presented to a Harlan County grand jury. So they was able to get a local trial commissioner to issue the warrant, and now it's going to go to a grand jury. And if the grand jury thinks that there's probable cause for an indictment, an indictment will be dropped, and then there'll be an actual trial for his possible removal. So the grand jury is an important fucking check in Kentucky judicial politics. It's guaranteed by Section 11 or 12 of the Bill of Rights in the Kentucky Constitution. So any felony, any major charges, a felony issue like charge, go to the grand jury. And yeah, so I'm looking up the longer article because there was more information about it. He locked himself in it and called 911. That was what Joe Greashop, Harlan County, and the Sheriff Marvin Lipford. Charges against Greashop is dismissed. So that's how, you know, that says that he pleads not guilty to the charges, and then it says it's dismissed. So the exact same thing that happened in Jackson County has happened in Harlan County. They got it dismissed. It got dismissed. So it wasn't put before a fucking jury. It wasn't put before a grand jury. It's put before a judge, and a judge says no. So basically, you get the charges filed, you get the man, you get everything lined up and all the evidence, then you get in front of a fucking corrupt, shitty judge, and you don't get the fucking charges. So you got to see the whole process, the whole criminal justice process, right? Begins from one spot, ends in another spot. So you got to see how the whole thing goes down, because you might have the thing, you might get the arrest, you might have the evidence, and you have a good case, and think that you could pass a jury. Why would they go to a jury trial? Why would they allow the judge to just dismiss it? They have a right to a jury trial, right? Yeah, they have a right to a jury trial, so a speedy jury trial, you know, that's how this is going to fucking unwind. So Joe Greashop is charged with third-degree burglary, theft of items valued over $10,000. Judge Ralph E. McClanahan, a retired senior status judge from the 23rd Judicial Circuit, presided over the hearing. The charges stem from an incident involving a county-owned building in Cold Iron that was occupied by the Harlan County Sheriff's Chaplain Corps. Which, what the fuck is that? According to the criminal complaint, it's a charity. Marvin fucking Limp Biscuit, what is his name? Lipford. He's got a charity, his own private charity. According to the criminal complaint against Grease Hop, the judge executive, entered the building knowing that he had no legal right to do so and took control of the property and no legal right to do it. And damn you. The complaint further charged Grease Hop did this in retaliation to a civil suit filed against him July 2nd, 2011. Grease Hop used his position to retaliate against people involved in the lawsuit. The complaint alleges Special Prosecutor Jesse Stockton, a Commonwealth's attorney based in the 40th Judicial Circuit, called several witnesses to testify about the incident in question. County employee Tony Filozzi testified that there were more than 10 people on the property when the alleged incident occurred. Filozzi further testified that he loaded items into Grease Hop's vehicle. According to Filozzi's testimony, he suggested to Grease Hop that the activities be recorded via video, to which Grease Hop responded he didn't want to waste the funds to do so because the letters explaining the action had already been issued. Jimmy Joseph testified he was present at the incident. So, okay. So, no one's denying that the fucking thing had probably hit, but the case was a sham, says reminds you can't meet that burden, you have zero proof. I just don't feel there was any criminal intent. They could have acted appropriately, they didn't. There's no valid evidence. So the fucking lawyer for, he's saying it's just a political feud, and so it was just basically a revenge type thing. You know, politics is damnedest in Kentucky, says Mulligan. Justice Mulligan, James Mulligan. Since I have a little bit more time, actually, I will mention 3 cases. You hear that? That's the helicopter, Fort Knox. So, at Fort Knox, there's a shooting that happened in Fort Knox. There was a shooting that happened in Muldrow. And there was a shooting that happened in Meade County. So these are all that happened in fairly recent times. 2 of them happened in November. So there's there's a double homicide and a suicide that happened in Meade County on November like 14th or so, a few days before John Price got killed. And the guy's name was I want to say Tucker Wimpy. So this was a 13-year-old kid who got shot by his mother's boyfriend, and then his mother gets shot, and then the boyfriend shoots himself. And so Tucker Wimpy was a 13-year-old kid that gets shot. Meade County sheriffs, you know, they basically get to the scene and just see that everybody's dead and shit. So, you know, there's no winners in this. And maybe there's like, it was a deputy's son, so it was a police officer's son, and they was embattled in this court custody case. They knew the guy was abusive, but the Child Protective Services just didn't give a shit, you know, or they didn't have the funds, resources, and they also don't have the law enforcement that was really being backed up with the things that they were saying. So, you know, this is going to completely revolutionize and change Meade County because Mr. Wimpy, the father of Tucker and the police officer, he's basically just yelling to the high hills about abuse and domination and control. And so I think this is going to, overall, it's a horrible tragedy, but if these changes do occur, then more people can, you know, you can be safer. 80 to 90% of Americans believe in corporal punishment. They believe in spanking their kids. Some of us, you know, some people might believe that just hitting them, getting their attention is enough, while as other people are actually aiming to harm and hurt the person. So this is a good development, especially in Kentucky, #1 for child deaths and child abuse cases. So this is what Kentucky's #1 for in the nation. You know, people, young boys getting murdered and oppressed women getting fucking killed by oppressive husbands. But really, that's the political establishment. It's all fascism. Where is it not fascism? Where do Kentucky people actually learn about equal relationships and treating each other with respect? So that happened in Meade County, and then a few days later in Muldrow, on 710 South Main Street, John R. Price, they said, was coming out underneath the porch. He had several weapons. They said he fired a shot, and then a shot was fired at him, and then all of a sudden he's got a self-inflicted gun wound to the head. So it just seems very unlikely that he would come out from underneath the front porch with all these weapons, fire a shot, and nobody's going to fire a shot at him. It was a welfare call, so there was like calling, you know, somebody was concerned about him. He's suicidal, and then they go there, and either he just goes ahead and does what he wanted to do anyways, or a cop shot him and they lied about it. Now I feel like they lied about it, and I don't like it when people lie. Like, it was unnecessary. If he came out and fired a shot at you, nobody's going to blame you for shooting back at someone who's shooting at you. If there's a if there's a shot fired. But it just seems like they don't want to fucking deal with anything, so just the cop who murdered John Price got away with it. And I think it was a Kentucky State Trooper who fired the shot. And I don't believe, you know, it's my opinion. I don't have any evidence, you know, to convict anybody, but it just doesn't. The story doesn't make any damn sense, and so it seems like they lied. And why would they lie? Well, it's because one of them shot. But it just seems such bullshit that they would lie. And then the other thing, the Fort Knox shooting. I only got like 14 seconds on it, but I don't know much about it. Just one Kentucky soldier just fucking flipped out. It says it identified the victim. The victim soldier charged with murder, so it was a fucking soldier that just went fucking ape shit, right? Fucking PTSD, having to kill children in Afghanistan is gonna give people shell shock. Fuck them up.